Welcome to another episode of Kingsville TV. And today we got a special guest in the building, a legend, pioneer. Some people call him the godfather of Bulawayo hip hop. King Krúed is in the building. What's up, King Krúed?
Yeah. What's up? What's up? Thank you for having me, Mr. Author to the Doc 6. Appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, welcome to Kingsville TV, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. We love this platform, and we appreciate the work you're putting into it, and the exposure that guys around Bulawayo and just around Zimbabwe are getting from your platform. Much appreciated, man. Keep at it.
Yeah, thank you much. Appreciate it, man. How you keeping up, man, during this corona and this whole lockdown issues going on, man? Njengoba wena
Yeah.
ku-first world ndoda cela usitshile ukuthi kuyenzakalani ku-first world khona ngapha e-Australia. What's going on in Australia, man? Are you guys facing lockdowns and all sorts of things like that we're facing in Africa, or maybe you guys is much better that side?
Nah, man, lockdowns are all over, bro. Yeah, we've had lockdowns in and out in Australia for quite some time. Uh, Luckily and or fortunately for me in Western Australia, we haven't had much of problems. I think we had quite a long run for nearly 10 months without any new community infections. So our lockdown was eased way back then, and we could just get around, go to work, go to clubs, go to wherever, just general normal life. Although interstate travel, like in between states, was stopped, and some states are still experiencing lockdown, so we don't cross borders into different states. So that's just about it. But otherwise, we keep on the grind. We're going to work, man. Make music here and there, and do things that pay the bills. You know how it is.
So is King Krúed getting vaccinated since the vaccination is now available?
Definitely, me and my family, as soon as the vaccinations start happening in Western Australia, we'll be in line to get vaccinated. We don't have any beef or any qualms or any reservations with the vaccinations. We don't follow no conspiracy theories, because we believe if vaccinations were designed to eradicate or kill us, we would have been killed a long time ago. I mean, you've had your polio vaccinations, all types of vaccinations, like especially from Zimbabwe. We've had many. We still even have the battle scars right right on the side there to show that we've been through it all. So yeah, vaccinations, bro, it's just one of those. So nah, I'll get it when it comes to be my time to get vaccinated.
And people would love to know, like, how did King Krúed get into music? You know, how did you guys get into like opening a studio and producing music? Did you go to school for this, or it was self-taught?
Music, bro, it's always been a passion from way back in the day in school. I think my love for music really started, I think, in high school. I'll say 98, 99 there, end of high school, just finishing our high school there. I had friends who were so much into music, namely MC Title, Mr. Swarelo Motobe, and many other guys from back in the days, from Killer Clan to Icon, those pioneering hip hop groups in Blau. Those were like our peers back in the time. And because most of the artists of that time didn't really have recording studios. We used to, there was this one studio in Luveve. Is it Govalanda? I think it's Govalanda. Joe Masego. I know many people, many artists went through Joe Macero studios, and many careers in Bulawayo really owe their being to Joe Macero. So there were not so many studios back in the day, and Radio Dialogue Ingwe Studios was one other facility that guys used to use. So seeing that we wanted to record, and getting studio time was quite expensive. You're really not making money. You just kids from school. You're not making money. So how are you going to do it? So I started. I had my brother, Mr. Malchaza himself, used to fix computers. We used to have computers in the house. So I just started, tinkering with computers, and just, you can make music on computers. So I had my first software that actually, made beats, which was called Evolution MIDI. I think that the software was probably from 1995 or even, earlier back in the day. So that little MIDI software that I used to use got me started. And I started just falling in love with making beats. Next thing you know, we're making beats for a small group, me and Twa. We're making beats for a small group, the Hamadreds, which had Valentine, who's in Ireland now. So, and then we started a studio, which was back in the day. I think it was now in 2002, 2003. We had the studio in 14th Avenue, Robert Mugabe back then. Then we opened that, and we started making beats for other artists. Then we really got to meet lots of cats in Bulawayo, the legends that we know today, including the POYs, the Orthodox Sixes. RIP to one of my best buddies, Kelvin Umtini Shizio. The whole lot. I think I've worked with quite, I would say 70% of most hard-hitting hip hop artists in Bulawayo at that time. So that's how King Krud was made. That's how I became to be a music producer. There's so many aspects to my journey that it'll take forever to say everything, but yeah, that's just the gist of it. That's just bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, I remember I got introduced to your studio by Valentine. I think it was in 2002 or 2003, and we had to come over there and do some auditions and get a record contract. So I just wanted to know, what was the mindset behind you guys opening up a studio and saying, let's make artists sign contracts and record these Bulawayo artists?
Okay.
What was the whole idea behind it?
So having already said that, for upcoming artists to get any type of money to pay for studios was really hard and really tough. So we knew that so much talent is there in the streets, but cannot afford, to jump into the studio and record. So we created a facility that I was working with my main man, MC Tyro, who's now in South Africa. We decided let's form a stable. We get, hard-hitting hip hop artists, hard-hitting R&B, hard-hitting white. Or back in the days, we didn't have, what Amapiano or something. We had Kwaito back in the day. So we decided most of these guys actually want a facility that they can record their music, but can't afford to pay for it. So we just decided, okay, let's have guys come in, audition. If we hear what we like, we sign them up. We say, okay, you're part of the Micah Blaze. This is how Micah Blaze was born, and the Micah Blaze record label, record stable. That's what we called it. So we decided, okay, let's get all these hard-hitting artists under one umbrella. We record for them for free of charge. We do everything. All they have to do is bring in their talent, their vocals, just have, you know, writing skills, just bring us up to the studio. We work on the beats. You pick a beat that you want, and you think it's not what you want. We make another beat. You work on it. We put that the music down. We'll put it on a CD, and we'll take it to radio. That was the whole plan, to work from zero to actually having the songs on radio. There were many challenges to that effect. Of course, you know how the industry is in Zimbabwe, and being from Bulawayo and Machabelela, it was one hell of a ride. But that's what we had. We knew if we were to bring, you know, artists together and maybe work as a unit, we'll have some form of, you know, of an impact, rather than, you know, every individual working and trying to do it all by themselves. So that was the whole plan behind that.
And how difficult was it, like, to get airplay, as you were saying, from the other side of Zim?
Well, I think up till today, it is still quite a hustle. I don't think much has changed really for artists outside of Harare. You know, I cannot say outside of any other place, because even guys from Mutare, from Mashingo, from anywhere, face quite an uphill task, you know, to get recognized by radio stations who are primarily headquartered in Harare. Like, everything is just, you know, you have to go to Harare to make it. It's like you can't make it in Bulawayo. You have to, you know, if you haven't made it in Harare, you haven't made it in Zimbabwe. It's one of, you know, the weirdest thing that we have, you know. But it was quite a challenge, and I know for a fact that it's still a challenge right now to get airplays. Most artists back in the day would have to, and I think it was, am I allowed to name names here? I think it was
Definitely.
I think it was it Power FM back in the day that had their station in Gweru? Yeah, so since our music was more of, you know, the urban genre, we didn't want to make urban grooves as such, because it was, you know, just flooded, and we believed in just keeping the, you know, music as pure as possible. Personally, I didn't understand what urban grooves was back in the day, because, you know, you're singing R&B in Shona, and then you call it urban grooves. It's still R&B to me. So yeah, you know, it is what it is. So most artists that we had relied upon us as a studio, as a label, to move the music to Gweru, and talk to DJs and get it into rotation. And we did that. We actually, you know, and they will tell you, bring 20 CDs. What the hell? 20 CDs? What the hell do you want 20 CDs for? And they'll tell you that, you know, ban your music on this number of CDs, bring it to the radio station, give it to this DJ, give it to this DJ, give this amount of CDs to the library, and your music is going to be, you know, cataloged. It'll be put into rotation. You'll start off on low rotation, then you move to mid rotation, then you move to high rotation. None of that BS ever happened. None of that nonsense ever happened. We would track back and forth. We would go back to Bulawayo. Having met, I think we met who was, I think, in charge of Power FM back in the day. It was Admire Taderera. I think we met Admire like multiple times over time. We'd go back, oh yeah, meet the head of programming, meet the head of whatever. One incident that actually happened back in the day, we went to Gweru, went there with our CDs once again. I think it was probably for the third time. We're just going around, we're dishing out the CDs again to every, you know, DJ we came across. Then we went into what they called, I think it was the library. Then there was a lady in there who had her headphones on, and she was listening to music, and we just tapped on her shoulders and said, yeah, we're passing out our CD. We would want our music played here. And funny enough, she said, you know what I'm listening to right now? It's this very CD that you're trying to hand to me. I love this music. You know, I love this music. Then we look at it like, we are coming back here to get this music played. We've been here twice already, and this is the third time, and it's not getting played. And you know, we'll be put through the ringer. No, your music is getting A, B, C, D. We managed to get a few tracks played, of course. The one that did very well was, I think it was from Mavo for, you know, Saint Figued. It was quite a joint. You see, this is where the trick is. You are from Bulawayo. You can't do hip hop. You shouldn't be doing dancehall. You know, you're from Bulawayo. You know, so they box you. So the only music that actually got out of that was the Kwaito tracks that we had on the compilation. That's what Power FM picked up and said, oh, okay, music from Bulawayo. This was music from Bulawayo, which was Kwaito. And that's what got rotation. We actually had Zina, Mantombazana, I think that one is, yeah, got so much airplay because, you know, you have Ndebele music, you're rapping or you're singing in Ndebele, then it becomes a Bulawayo music, which was total BS because, you know, Bulawayo is a melting pot of cultures, is a melting pot of everything, and we have everything in Bulawayo from dancehall to, you know, to Kwaito, R&B, hip hop, and the radio stations just wanted to box the artists to that. So yeah, it's that kind of a challenge that we went through.
How did the compilation The Heat come about?
The compilation The Heat is, I think, even from the title, The Heat was from the name Mike Ablaze. We are playing with the flames and stuff like that. So we just decided, okay, what do flames do? They produce heat. So it came from that and became The Heat. It was The Heat because we were saying, you know, we're producing fire here. And I would say, yes, it was some of the best music that we worked on. Most of the artists that we worked on were very hungry, you know, getting into the industry. I just got myself a contract to do music, and everyone was working really, really hard and putting so much effort into it, working so hard to get the best that they could out. It is unfortunate that with the way the industry was skewed or is still skewed, you know, in terms of the kind of music that is being played on radio, regionally, in terms of who gets played. It's so unfortunate that most artists really didn't get the breakthrough, but many people did put their backs into it. They broke their backs trying to get the best, works they could do it. But unfortunately, most people got deflated. Most people lost, hope. They just lost faith. They just gave up. Like, come on, what can we do? What can we really do? If we look at even RIP to Umtheni Calvin, he had been in the industry for the longest, and he's been doing the music that people know Umtheni for is the later stages of his career. But he started way back 2000s, the beginning of 2000s, and it was hard to break through. Consistency and of course working hard all the time helps. But if the industry is level and everyone is, if talent is all you need, people shouldn't have to work, as hard and break the backs, pay DJs, to get airplay, which is something that we were told to do back in the, you needed to know a DJ to get your music played. You needed to know someone. Oh, I have Zbani's number. Can you, call Zbani? He knows who to talk to. Call Zbani's DJ. Call him up. Have dinner with them. Have lunch with them and talk to them and give them your CD. And you might have to have 3-4 lunches with them for one track from that CD of 20 to get played. which is quite ridiculous. But that's how it was, and that's the unfortunate reality that, up to a point where, for example, Umgeni, I like to talk about, because his legacy and his work was later highlighted really after Dude had passed on. Many people started recognizing, like, oh my God, he has done so much. This guy has been working so hard, to a point that he has a song that it actually talks, if I was Shona, which many people got offended by. But in reality, that song is very important. It actually highlights what many people from Bulawayo face when it comes to, to music. Like, you just feel like, okay, maybe if I was Shona, my music would have, been appreciated, would have changed. But in reality, I don't really think it has anything to do with being Debele or Shona. It actually has to do with the region where you're coming from. Because how many artists, if I was to ask, how many artists from Mutare do you know? Like, how many? How many? How many artists from Mashingo do you know? Like, no one. From Shamani, no one. It seems everyone has to move to Harare for them to pop up and say, oh, okay, all right. Kudos to the guys who actually make it while in Bulawayo. I can talk about my friend Asef, formerly known as Quanfire. Yes, yes, man is working extra hard. He's putting in the work, and he's doing so well. But if we look at the music that would say, appeal to the general public, Ndini Mambo, why is Ndini Mambo more acceptable? Why is it more acceptable than the rest of the music? Why is it so? You see, there's those kind of questions that you can start asking questions like, okay, so if it was with the Himilinkosi, what was that going to be, Nyinduna or something of that nature? Was that going to have the same appeal across the board as and Dini Mambo kind of a song? It's an unfortunate conversation that many people avoid talking about, but it is what it is. There are many talented folk in Bulawayo who have either just given up or have actually trekked down south to try their luck there. And because in South Africa, everyone, it's still a market that, for foreigners, it's even worse for you to move up, because they're also trying to, find their way around it, how it is. So yeah, that's about it. I think I veered off a little bit.
But then there's a notion like, don't blame Harare people because Bulawayo people don't support their own. You guys are always crying about Harare does not support us, Harare does not support us. Yet you yourself, Bulawayo people, when an artist releases an album or does something that is big, you don't support. E.g., I'll give you a scenario, maybe like ASF. The Mambo track started getting traction in H-Town. Then that's when Bulawayo started riding the wave of what? Of the track. And started giving the guy accolades this side from Bulawayo after seeing him being embraced in H-Town. So during your time, what would you say? Would you say Bulawayo people don't support? Would you say Bulawayo people are being sabotaged? Bulawayo people are being shortchanged? Or there's some channels which are being closed so that our artists here in Bulawayo do not make it mainstream?
You see, the thing is, I have never, I don't blame Harare, like, as the city, as the people, as the artists in Harare, or, the kind of vibe. It's a system that is there that many people just plug into. Like how, Black Americans complain about, white privilege. It's not like, you know, there's like a dude who's just there being white and he's systematically doing all these things to. It's a system that's already been built from way back that a white person just grows up and plugs right into. That's the same situation that you find, you know, with the Harare situation, where those who are already in that kind of an environment do not really see or appreciate the kind of hurdles that other people from outside or from elsewhere would have to, you know, to face. Yes, there are people in Harare who are struggling to make it, but I think it's probably 10, 20 times harder for anyone else who's outside of Harare to make it. Because most of the times, many people, you can imagine someone who's in Plumtree. Like, there's no radio station in Plumtree. There isn't even a community radio station in Plumtree. You know, so where do they get their music played? So they have to travel, you know, miles, you know, to go meet up with somebody, some DJ, some head of station that probably doesn't give 2 cents about them. They grab their music, and this guy has traveled all the way from Plumtree, and he's singing in a language that the head of station doesn't understand. You know, he grabs the CD and listens to it. It's like, you know, like, what the hell is this guy talking about? You know, do you think he's going to get played? No. Even if it's the hardest hitting record that he's ever had, but because there's, you know, things. So it's a system that's already there that, you know, people just plug into, and you are privileged when you're already in that place, you know, to get noticed. We can, you know, when you see or you hear most successful Bulawayo artists, you can trust the little, you know, pipeline. Like, okay, Harare has some input into this. You know, you remember how the galas, the galas that we saw. Most galas really were not happening in Bulawayo or Matabeleland or whatever. Most galas were, you know, gala in Masvingo, gala in Harare, gala in whatever, and we would see some of our artists like Sandro Ndebele now being celebrated and, you know, getting recognition through those avenues, but nothing really to do with Bulawayo or homegrown situation. I would say if we had lots and lots of community radio stations, big up to, you know, Sky's Metro. I'm sure they're doing quite a lot of work to promote, you know, local artists. But if we had lots and lots, especially from back in the day, if we had lots and lots of community radio stations that were playing local music, even local, you know, consumers of music would start appreciating it. It's not like Bulawayo people don't want to support. Now we're going back to topic. Bulawayo people don't want to support Bulawayo artists, but you only vibe to the music you hear. You know, you only vibe to the music you hear. If you can't hear it, you're not going to vibe to it. I cannot go to a show for an artist I've never heard of. It's impossible. Visibility, which is very important. Yes, visibility is very important for an artist. You need to be visible, you need to be heard, you need to be seen. And how do you get seen or heard if the biggest stations in the land do not show your videos, do not play your music? How are people going to know you? How are people going to see you? How are they going to come to your shows? So it's that. The reason why you'll find artists from South Africa being more acceptable in Bulawayo and having more, you know, of a pool in terms of crowds is because everyone had their, you know, satellite dishes. They were taping into the South African music, tapping into the, you know, that industry. People were exposed to the, you know, South African, you know, culture more than they were of, you know, the local genres. So you would find I would know more an Mosquito produced music than a local producer. Because why? There's actually visibility for Mosquito via the satellite. I'm watching Mosquito, I'm listening to Mosquito music, I'm actually seeing him everywhere. They're being promoted in their own land, and we have access to that. Back in our land, we don't get promoted, we don't get recognition. How are people going to know about us? So it has that element where it's not like people don't really want to support. People want to support, people would want to support, but there has to be a system that pushes artists to that level where they're visible. Urban Grooves was propelled by radio play. That's what made Urban Grooves Urban Grooves. The rest of the guys we know right now, the biggest urban groovers from the Rockies, the Masqueries, the XQs, all those, the Extra Larges, all those guys were pushed to the top via airplay. We can argue about the talent of some of the artists that made it. Like, were these guys really good? Debatable, some of it, right? But because it's the same thing. Right now, you hear mumble rappers dominating, the airwaves. Are they good? But they're popular. Why? Because it's what is being pushed by the radio station. It's what is being pushed everywhere and all the time. We can talk about even jingles, political jingles that get played on your TVs and your radio. You will hear people singing along. Like, is it because people love? Is it because people love that jingle, or is it because it's something that's being played every other 5 minutes, 10 minutes? That's what pushed. When the local 100% local content was pushed, I think it was 100% or something like that was pushed. If that catered for percentages from every other region, I will tell you it will be a different conversation. If that catered for, like, okay, we're going to have 100% local content, but we're going to have 20% from Mutare, 20% from Bulawayo, 20% from Harare, 20% from, thereby giving everyone fair play on the stations, we would know a whole lot more of Bulawayo artists, and a whole lot more of other region artists would have broken into the mainstream via that. But with the 100% content, you would hear 100% Harare based artists, which was rather. It's rather
because I feel there's a huge gap, like, between the time of urban grooves and artists this side based in Blau. It's like they were non-existent, yet they were existing, making music. Because the time of urban grooves is just a few hand-picked artists, maybe 2 or 3 Blau artists who were showcased on maybe the Chamembe compilation. But other than that, it was H-Town domination all the way. And I think that phase, Bulawayo missed that whole phase. That's why I see when they mention the urban grooves phase, it's only 1 or 2 Bulawayo artists who were, prominent by that time. But then when you come back home this side, Bulawayo artists, there was the hit compilation, which was being marginalized, was sidelined by that time. But there was heat in that compilation. But you guys didn't get what? Recognition whatsoever. Maybe making, because the excuse, I still remember, maybe the excuse was always, you guys are not making proper music, you're not mastering your music, you're not packaging your music properly. Go back home. Sometimes you were told, go back home and repackage and come back again. So it was a bit difficult for lawyer artists to make it through the mainstream. But now, when I'm talking to most of these artists in Bulawayo, they're still complaining about the same thing you guys went through 10, 15 years ago. But now, my question is, we now have a radio station here in Bulawayo in our backyard. So why are artists still complaining about airplay.
Listen, is Sky's Metro listened to in Mutare? Does a Mutare listener know what Sky's FM is playing? No. But as a Mutare listener knows what Star FM, ZFM, Radio Zimbabwe is playing. They know that because those are national, they're broadcasting nationally. So how do you blow up? How do you become so huge? When no one else knows your music except your closest friends, the community around, just those just those few individuals. I'm not saying it doesn't work, because you have to move up. It also helps. Radio also helps if it really jumps and onto it. Like you have already mentioned that by the Urban Grooves days, if every artist from Bulawayo had gotten on the same airplay, we would be having a different conversation right now about the number of artists that would have come out of Bulawayo. But we only have a few. We had School, School and Tri. Well, on Chamembe was, we also had, most of the guys that we had, and POZ. Most of the guys we had who became prominent on the radio stations had to work with some producer from either Gweru by that time, because the station was based in Gweru, and then Harare producers. Anyone else from outside of those regions, no. You can imagine, we know more of Step Aside, and he was a brilliant producer. We know more of Step Aside, but who knows Joe Masego in Harare? Was Joe Masego not making music? Was he not making music? Yes. We had producers at Ingwe Studios. Were they not making music? They were making so much good music, but we don't know about them. But we know of Harare producers. We know so many of them. Why their music was getting played? It's not like we were making work music. It's not like the Joe Masegos of our time were making work music. They weren't. They were making good music, but there was no exposure. They were not getting the same opportunities to get their music heard that some Harare-based producers were getting. You would hear, it's another Step Aside remix, like, oh, Step Aside, whoa, and very little to do with any other producers from Itai producers who are making real hard, from Cat House, with hard-hitting music, from Itai and Cat House, but we don't know about them. We never had the music being played on radio. So it's still, I think it's a system that still exists today. And I would say, on the other flip side though, dancehall, Zim dancehall rode the wave of the community. Which is it's a really conversation that we would want to have in Bulawayo. Like, how did Zim dancehall become the staple of Mbare, of the ghettos of Harare? It became the staple so much that it transcended that boundary of just being a ghetto music to being played nationally, to actually being played on radios. But I think Zim dancehall started off right in the roots, right in the ghettos, without the push of mainstream airplay, which is quite an undertaking and something that we should emulate right across the board, in terms of trying to push our music locally in our communities, trying to work twice as hard, and booking venues and just trying to push as hard, because that's what we have to do to get our music out there. Right now we have our YouTubes, we have so many, our SoundClouds, we have so many options that weren't available for many artists, like back in 2005. Some of these streaming services weren't even in place, and internet is something you can just dream of. So right now I think the situation should be a bit better, because you actually don't have to travel and give a DJ your CD or a physical copy of a CD. You can just email it, or you can just tag them, or it on your what you call it, on your SoundCloud, and they can listen to your music from there. So it should be a different conversation, but because the system is still there that mainstream radio pushes, so the warfare still hasn't changed much.
Damn. Well, you guys made a movie, a short film called Sweet November, and it got played on Africa Magic. So can you please tell us a bit about that? How did you guys get the funding to shoot the film, and also get the Africa Magic people to approve of the short film? And how was the reception of Sweet November, or locally, regionally, or even abroad?
Yeah, okay. So it's the Sweet November movie is an interesting thing that happened, really, because the film was inspired by a song done by this work artist by the name of Orthodox Six. He had a song, Sweet November. So it's more of storytelling, which is phenomenal. He's a good storyteller. So we enjoyed the storytelling in that song. So we decided, okay, first it was, let's make a music video for it. But wait, we can actually develop this story into a short film. We can actually do more than just shoot a music video for it. So we just took the song, then developed the story from the song, and added characters, developed the story, and we had auditions for actors. We then shot the film and edited it and then got it out. It was going to be impossible without the help of then radio dialogue. Luckily, the guys who ran radio dialogue back then just were quite keen on anything to do with the arts, anything interesting to do with music and film in Bulawayo. So we spoke to I think it was Father Nigel, who used to run back then radio dialogue. He gave it a green thumb that we can, a thumbs up. I mean, we can get going, and we got equipment. We got lights, we got cameras, we got the editing suite, which were the computers back in the day to edit our film. We got venues to film at. Yeah, so that's how it all got together. And we had RIP to Andrew Masauso, who was quite instrumental on making everything work, because he interfaced with Father Nigel on our behalf, and got everything going. So we shot, we edited, and got film out. Somehow, somewhere along the line, the film set in the radio dialogue Ingwe Studios computers after it had been edited. We're now, just plotting and planning how are we going to release the product, right? We really didn't have an idea of how we're going to put it out there. We needed to see, yes, we can do festivals, so we needed something, that could, get the monies back into our pockets, because it was a fully, personal funded. It was all on our monies. We raised the funds for everything, from transport to the food to everything that we were doing on set. So we needed to get some money back. So we're planning that, and the next thing you know, I'm getting calls from some of the actors like, "Hey, your movie is it's on, it's on DSTV. What are you talking about? It's on DSTV. Like, yeah. Like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, the movie's on DSTV. You can actually go and check the programming. It's there. It's actually going to be playing over a period of time. How on earth? So we didn't have an idea of how else the movie got there. Actually went to Radio Dialogue and asked the side, and we got to know who actually got the movie from the studio and took it over there, and the guy just went underground, vanished, couldn't get in touch of him. He got paid for it. He took it as his. He took it as his project that he had done. I do not know what deals happened for it to be signed off and actually got the movie out and find its way to DSTV. I personally contacted, I think, someone at DSTV to do at Africa Magic, and they just simply said, "Well, you see, we can't do anything. You will have to prove that you are, the owner of this, blah blah blah." It was a long list of things that I needed to do, but it was as good as you can go and jump into a lake and forget about it. Can you say it was as good as the horses have already left the stable? The horses have bolted. It's too late. You can't do anything about it. So that's how it got to be on Africa Magic. It wasn't any of our doing. We probably wouldn't have managed to get it on Africa Magic. Come to think of it, we didn't have the kind of contacts that the person who took it there had. We didn't know who would have gotten in touch. So in a way, I wasn't too bitter about it. I was happy it got its airplay. I was happy they actually saw it as a good enough product for them to add. So it validated our work at some point. We didn't get money from it, but it validated, like, oh, okay, we can actually make products that can be played on an international platform. So the failure for our products to be played locally, it shows that it's not about our quality, it's not about the work we're putting in. It's just that we're just not accepted locally, but it got played, and that was it. So we got validated via that, even though we didn't get money out of it.
So you shot the movie Sweet November. Now my question is, where did you get the skills at that time to do cinematography? Because here you're a producer at Michael Blaze. We know you for just recording music. And on the flip side, you are now doing movies. So we want to know, how did that come about? Where did you get the skills to start, doing cinematography and filming this short film? Because I gather it was you, MC Taito, and RIP to Andrew who were shooting this movie. So the audience just wants to know, where did you guys get the skill to shoot this short film?
Right, yeah. Filming was really something that me and MC Taito had already started doing. We'll just film your weddings, we'll film your parties, and we actually had a couple of music videos were done, including I think it was Akawoma by another work artist by the name of Orthodox again.
So I assume that was your very first video, because the way that video came about is Valentine had attempted to shoot a video. And it was horrible. So King Krud, you took it upon yourself to say, no, let me redo and shoot this video. I think that's when you shot your very first video.
Yes, that was the very first video, and I appreciate the artists that I actually worked with back then. because they say iron sharpens iron. Without the artists, without the guys I was working with, the Orthodox Sixes, you know, them Guineas and all, I wouldn't have, you know, done the work that I actually got to do. It's because of them that I was forced. Okay, you know what? This is a good song. Let us try this with it. Without that, without the good song, we were not ever going to even attempt to make videos. So it is because through that we managed, you know, to start that. So through the skills we had acquired from attempting to do music videos, we decided, okay, let's scale this up a little bit. Let's take it to film. And I'll shout out to my brother, my friend Nobizi Tamlilo. He had so much. I quite was inspired by the work he was doing. I think he had already, you know, started working on, you know, music videos, and his work was phenomenal. And he would come down, you know, from Harare and you know, just, you know, break down some of his concepts, like, oh, you know, I'm working on this, and you get inspired. I'm like, oh, wow, this is my contemporary. This is, you know, someone we grew up together. So if he's doing this, we're able to, you know, actually, you know, get onto this. And he was also very close friend with Nigel, which also helped for the Nigel of Radio Dialogue. So everything just came together that way. So from my background in, you know, music videos and just filming random stuff, I got to work on Sweet November. We did, me, MC Title, and Andrew. We had Webster, who became I think it was a production manager. He used to just run around. He knew how to, you know, to talk game. He knew how to put people together, to organize. So we managed to put our resources together, organize transport, organize food for set, organize the set. It was through Webster that we managed to find, you know, a crib, a beautiful house that we filmed the bulk of the movie in. Amazingly, back then, that was at Ascot. We managed to film some parts of it at Ascot. Amazingly, there's shops there that were willing to just let us get in there with our cameras, or sit outside with our cameras and film, which was quite impossible. I would say this because many Zimbabwean business owners just do not like cameras. I don't know whether it's failure to understand like art, or just being, you know, cautious or paranoid. I don't know what it is, but it's hard to get permission to film anywhere around the city. It's hard. You jump through hoops. Oh, can we please use your place to film this? No. Can we please use your no, no, no. So it discourages many people, and you know, people end up just filming in the park. Even in the park, you find those guys in blue chasing you out and say, hey, there's an up. Come on, we'll give you the authority to film there. So cameras are quite difficult to carry around, you know, our city.
Exactly.
So yeah, we were quite happy that we managed to get guys at Ascot who allowed us to film there, and we got venues through Mr. Webster Chinyani. Big up to him. He knows how to talk game. So that happened. We funded everything. We edited it. It was Father Nigel doing the editing. I was there as well doing the editing, color grading. That was Nobizi Tamlito, and some of the editing as well. The music that was played in it, some of it was Calvin. You know, some of it was the music that we produced. This is just you know, the resources that we had. We tried to just put the things that we had, and the people that we worked in. The people who appeared in the film are some of our friends, some of the artists we were working with, and some of the people we had to actually have auditions and whatnot. So that's how I managed to move from making music videos to actually filming a short film, which was interesting.
Pure passion, man. Pure passion.
Yes,
And
indeed.
we definitely commend you for that, having the drive and the passion, regardless of you having little resources or no money at all. But you guys, you managed to pull it off. And
Yep.
I feel like that was one of the first like short films ever to be produced in Bulawayo, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it indeed it was, and by the scale of what we were working on, you could tell that the industry was ripe for film. The industry was ripe for such things to happen right across, Bulawayo. There was some bubbling under, but because resources and the throughput were then to check the products. Like, we've done this. How do we get our production on television? You will talk to people from ZBC about that film, and no, it's not for us. They'll tell you, no, this can't go on air. This we cannot air at all. You have to chop off this. You have to stop this. You have to change this. You have to. They'll try to direct the film themselves for it to end up being on national television. So which really prohibits or stops many artists from expressing their their true vision and actually working on the things that they want to work on. Many people who end up just doing things because they want to get airplay and actually lose themselves and change who they are, or the kind of artists that they want to be, or the kind of films that they want to produce, because they have to conform to what has been set by the sole television station. And you can ask yourself how many products in productions from Bulawayo are on TV right now. I don't know, man. There's very few. From as way back as you only knew the dramas that had Aboslandulo. What was that? Ukula Kukuphela, is it? Yeah, Labotonga. Those, yeah, that and
Amakorokozas.
yes, that it was like you would only think Amakosi was the only production house in Bulawayo back then. Like if it wasn't from Amakosi, then it wasn't going to make it. But we were testament to the fact that productions were happening outside of the school that they had already gotten used to. There were so many other, producers, other, guys who were working on amazing things. And I can tell you up to today that, film or video makers, directors, producers, most of talented guys are not, from Bulawayo moved to Harare. We have, the likes of my friend Andy Carter. Most of his, well-known music videos are in Harare. I think he's actually now in Harare. We look at Mr. Blacks, Uvusa. Most of his, well-received, well-known is with Ja Preza in Harare.
So are we suffering from brain drain now in Bulawayo since most of our talents are exiting, and what's the cause of that? I think I'll go back to the support factor, or maybe it's not the support factor, but Harare, we might say, is the Hollywood of Zim, where you find opportunity to generate revenue. Since most of the people say, in Bulawayo, you die broke, my friend, because ain't nobody interested in whatever art you're trying to do. And my other question to you is, can you make enough revenue to sustain yourself as a producer or as a cinematographer, in this industry in Zim?
Okay, yeah, it's possible, but you see, the biggest challenge that many producers, many cinematographers in Bulawayo faces the same thing that the artists themselves face. You can make a really dope music video, and if it doesn't go national, you starve. You have to make music that is acceptable outside of your close friends. Your close friends can give you sandos. Oh, that's November music video. Oh my God, it's dope. It's dope. You give each other sandos and all that jive. But if it doesn't transcend that realm of your closest friends and your side chicks and stuff like that, you're going nowhere. So you see, as an artist, as a producer, as a director, you want your work to be visible. So you obviously have to go to where visibility is. You go to where the light is being shone, isn't it? So we have to be there. This is why you find lots of great producers, cinematographers, artists flock to Harare, because that's where the spotlight is. That's where you can actually be visible. Right now, who in Zimbabwe is making dope videos more than the two I've already mentioned, like Andy Carter and Mr. Blacks.
Yeah, because we've got Vusa, we've got Andy Carter, we've got more,
Yes.
We also had Rasquicity, but now he's back based in Bulawayo. But these are all Bulawayo talents doing amazing things for Harare artists. But when you talk to these guys, they say, you know what, the problem is Bulawayo artists are broken, cannot afford, to pay for
their
our
services. Yes, it's exactly that. How can a Bulawayo artist make money when he's not getting recognition? You can't make money if you're not getting recognition. It's impossible. So it has to be that part of recognition that pushes all these guys out there. You look at music promoters that push the Harare artists. How many are actually trying to work with unknowns from Bulawayo? A handful. No one, because they know it's a loss. They don't want to put money in flops. So whatever is working is what the producers or artists go to. They flock to Harare. It's not like they were not making dope videos when they were in Bulawayo. They can still make amazing videos because it's still the same talent, it's still the same person. It's only about where they are. It's only about where they are, like where you have to be at a certain place for you to actually make it. Just a second. Right. There we go. Much better. Right. So yeah, that's about it in terms of how our brain drain and how our finest artists end up being in Harare. They have to go to where they can make money. It's not like they don't love the city. They love the city, but if the city is not loving them back, have to go to where.
I feel most of our artists locally, they are suffering from depression, anxiety, they're not really feeling appreciated. Like, we're putting so much into this arts industry, but we're getting so little in return, So I don't know whether we should all just migrate to Harare, or what's the solution? Okay, King Krud, what can you say is the solution for Bulawayo artists to get this recognition and start making this money as well and live a comfortable lifestyle where we say there is a celebrity, because right now people are saying, only celebrity njani mina tuzana nawe phakathi kukaZuko. So what's the difference between you and me? You get my point. You're getting all these accolades, you know, you're on television, you upumema newspaper, but it's Kwama, there's nothing to show for it, you know? And that's the same gripe King Kelvin had. Like, you know, I've got all these millions of awards in my house, but I've got nothing to show for it.
I
So
think
I think there's a disconnect somewhere. There's a disconnect between the artist and the money, you know. Konabo will
yeah,
problem.
I think when it comes to brokenness, it is right across the board. If we were to look at most urban grovers who made so much airwaves, who had so much airplay, if we were to hunt for most of them and try to sit down with them and see if they caked it back then, you'd be like, okay, bro, you're still broke, but you had all that airplay. It is a reality. That is our industry in Zimbabwe. It's right across the board. You look at even the likes of Gringo, like he passed on, RIP to him. He passed on, but after all that, what we term success in terms of visibility, there was really no monetary value. I'm not sure whether it has to do with um, uh, the producers or the people above him, the people who employ artists, the promoters, the executives in radio stations, who are not paying royalties and stuff like that. It's one of, I'm not sure where uh, it goes wrong, because you would find very popular artists in Zimbabwe, be it in Bulawayo, be it in Harare, being broke as a joke. It is a reality. It is true, and I don't think it discriminates. It's the only thing that unites us, our poverty. It is one thing that is so true across the board. But the thing is, the level of Ulamba is different.
Nice.
Yes. Harare lumbering and Bulawayo lumbering is a bit on a different level. Umuntu Harare uyalamba kwanisa ukuthenga okuyi-fit and yabo umuntu webulawayo elambe ehlule ukuthenga i-freezit. It is that. Because with a bit of exposure, with a bit of airplay, you get a bit of change as well. You get paid. You get gigs that actually pay you. There are quite a few artists who can actually who have actually made so much money from it and are actually doing other things, actually building their studios, building homes. You can see them. They're a handful, in Zimbabwe. I think it's primarily because we really don't have a support base. I think if we had if the government invested more in the arts, invested more in the arts and actually realizing that this is not just an employer. It can actually be part of the national gross product, like domestic product, the GDP. It actually contribute to it. If they invest in it, they can actually reap from it. But it's not the case here. You see, the government's effort in having 100% local music and having all these musical galas, it's part of what they can actually do to uplift artists. But it's not only visibility that gets artists to keep going. It's in the bank account. It's in the bank account. Yeah, the money aspect is very important. There's no joy in an artist appearing on a national gala and playing for 2 hours, and the whole Zimbabwe sees them. After that, they are standing on the side of the road, trying to get a combi to go home with $3 in their pocket. it really doesn't make sense. Like, okay, why do we have our artists starving yet we're doing so much? So there has to be a system that really awards, hardworking artists, a system that is there. If I am doing the work, let me get paid. Let radios give the dues to artists. There's no point for most of our artists to have their music playing every day, blaring, your speakers, and there's no money in the pocket. So it's not only a situation in Bulawayo. I think it's nationwide, from film to music to anything really to do with the arts. The artist in Zimbabwe is starving. You know, uh, except for a few artists who have really worked extra hard, to get out there and to really put work in. But you see, in Zimbabwe, in most cases, it doesn't only have to be your talent. You have to start sungaring, no Zvani, no Zvani, no this guy, no Uzvani, Kamba, criminal law. It shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be the kind of thing. It should be, promoters, producers going after you, like, oh my God, I had this kid in Bulawayo, singing at this concert. I think I want that kid because because of the talent that they have, and knowing that if I am to invest in this artist, I'm going to reap the rewards. I'm going to get my money back. I'm going to there's actually going to be a profit. But it doesn't happen in Zimbabwe because, well, you can actually invest in an artist. You can actually spend so much time going to the studio, booking studio time, and get nothing in return. And it is so frustrating for many artists that many artists have just hung up their microphones. They've just given it up and say, why am I wasting so much time? Not because they don't have the talent, not because they can't do it, but because in most cases, popularity does not translate to money. Popularity doesn't translate to money, especially in this Zimbabwean situation. Popularity really doesn't translate to money. I don't understand whether it's because our artists don't have the business aspect locked down, or there's simply no money for artists in Zimbabwe. It's something that I can't really explain myself. I really don't fully understand that what exactly can be done, looking at government level and institutions down there, promoters and everyone else involved in the arts. How best can we do to put our music out there? I think if you look at some movies that come out of South Africa, you will see government, ministry of blah blah blah, ministry of what, funded by the ministry of some movies that come out of South Africa. You can actually see that there is a government involved in the production of some of the work that comes out. That you have a movie that you actually want to work on, you don't have the budget, can actually approach the government and say, okay, this is my movie. Relevant ministries that are concerned, that are put to work with artists, can actually attend to you and say, okay, so what do you have? What kind of budgets do you have? Okay, what monies do you want? Here's the money. Go and make it. And then things happen. It has to also have government initiatives, rather than government thinking we can use you at a gala and buy you drinks and feed you an elephant, but after all that you're walking home, back. You have kids, you have a wife, you have people, you have a family that is looking up to you and say, okay, daddy was away for like a whole day, 24 hours out there. I saw him on TV, his music is playing on radio. He comes home empty-handed, which is what then frustrates many artists to a point of actually giving up, and you know, just saying, to hell with it. And then people see them on the streets or in their crappy bars, they're drinking their sorrows away and say, kanti lay asondoda lona phela waphuma ku radio yini waphuma ku TV ayisiyo yini and you know, people mock you and laugh at you, and it just gets so frustrating, you know, for many artists. So it is what it is. It's something that needs to be looked at in holistically in terms of not just in Bulawayo, but for every artist right across the board and right across from film to music, you know, to writers, to anyone who's working in the arts. They are not getting their dues. They're not getting their monies. They're not getting any support. The corporate world is not paying artists. You know, most of the artists are used to promote products, are used to promote A, B, C, D, and get peanuts out of it. The value of their work is actually not realized. Like I can appear on this internet providers advert and, you know, get this X amount of money. But if we look at the value that the company is getting from the work you've done, it's probably 100-fold the value that they gave you. You know, our artists are not, you know, given their proper dues. They're not paid what they're supposed to get. Most of the times, our artists get this exposure thing. It works for you. You know, our brand is out there. If you are associated with our brand, people will see you. You know, you'll be seen. We'll put you on the billboards. We'll put you everywhere. But it's really not. They're using you, your image, your skills, your talent. They're using you to push their product, and they get more value than the exposure that they're promising you. If we were to put the exposure in dollar terms, you'd find out that if they actually had paid you what is due, that exposure will be peanuts to you. You'll be like, keep the exposure, just give me the money. I'd rather appear in a 2-second clip of an advert and get paid my $10,000 than to appear in 20 adverts of your company and get, you know, $5 for each appearance. It's like that.
With all this information you're giving out, and I'm starting to feel like, damn, is it really worth it to become an artist? Or should I just like go and look for a job?
Looking for a job is not a bad idea. Let's not lie to ourselves. Look. Music yakuzothengisa hayi ndoda adinga umsebenzi. I'm sure city council is employing people just okay, bro. Ndoda hambe ehloko zuthuvi. It is what it is, bro.
So what's your advice? Because I know there are a lot of youngsters coming up. They're saying, I want to be an artist. I want to be a cinematographer, you know, because I feel like sometimes we have, you know, 1 in a million people, e.g. the Shashas, you know, they find fortune and fame, you know, greener pastures somewhere else due to not quitting on their talents. So I don't know who 1 in a million kona pana ezinyi 999 lazy is you get the point. Like, since it's going to be one, you know, in a blue moon?
I think it is important to be consistent. It is important to work extra hard. Keep doing what you love doing. Improve on your craft. Do not do the same thing over and over and over. If something is not working, switch it up a little bit. If you see it not working, switch it up a little bit. Try this, try that, and keep hammering. Keep doing it. Most of the artists who actually became very successful, it's because of consistent and being persistent at it. If we look at Ja Praiser, for example, when he started doing Gochi Gochi Newe, Gochi Gochi, that song, the Gochi Gochi song, not so many people were vibing to Ja Praiser then. Not so many, and he kept at it. He never stopped. And he switched it up. Back when he started, many people thought Ja Praiser would be a dancehall artist. Many people actually, assumed he'll be part of the Zim dancehall jive, but he, switched it up and went to where he's actually, crafted a little niche into the whole industry. And right now he's one of the biggest, if not the biggest artist in Zimbabwe. You look at Winky D, where Winky D started. I think he's probably back in the 90s, as far back as the 90s. He's probably has had 30 or so years in the industry, and he kept going. He kept going from being broke, from his music not getting played. He kept going consistently, and he persisted on what he was doing. And right now, Winky D is, one of the biggest artists in Zimbabwe and in Southern Africa. He's quite big. So it's about, honing your craft, working at it. Keep doing what you're doing. Right now, it should be a lot easier for artists to break out and actually be heard more because of internet and WhatsApp and Twitter and Facebook, YouTube. Those tools are very, very, very good. They can actually cut through your national television, your national radios. They can actually, sideline those things, and you can actually shoot straight to the top with those tools. I'll give you an example of a song that's really getting many people fired up right now on Twitter, the Juicy song. Have you heard the Juicy song? We are talking Juicy Rako. Yeah.
I've heard.
Like that track, I don't think it started off from the radio. It started off online. People sharing it on Twitter. His recorded clip, sharing it on Twitter, and now it's on WhatsApp, and now people are doing their own versions of it, and it's popping off. Now I actually had to look for the artist myself. I'm like, oh, who's this guy? I actually looked. I'm like, oh no, this is not his first song. He actually has lots of other songs. A very talented fella. That's how you can break through without having to rely on traditional platforms, traditional means, which have so much hurdles for you to jump over. Right now, your music can actually pop off in other countries without you can actually go beyond just your borders and be played in Spain. If you look at how the whole Jerusalem challenge started, I don't think it started, at home like in Africa and in South Africa. Many folks were jumping onto that vibe from Brazil, Spain, and then it just started, blowing all over the globe. And this is an artist in South Africa. He didn't just rely on the traditional means. I don't think it was actually popping off as much as it did after it hit the internet. I don't think it was popping off on radio as much as it did after it hit the internet. So you can see how the internet can actually make it a wild something. You look at music from North Korea and South Korea, not North Korea. From Korea. You look at what's that artist, Gangnam Style. It's via the internet. So crazy. The craze swept the internet. Everyone was watching the video. Everyone was singing the song. We don't even know what he's talking about in the song, you know. And we were watching it before even our own local radio stations were playing Gangnam Style. We were watching it on our WhatsApps. We were sharing it on our WhatsApp. We were watching it on Twitter. We were watching it on YouTube and so forth. So it shows that right now the artist has so much. So many avenues to push their music. There's so many avenues that they can actually use to promote their music. The best advice I can give to artists is don't give up. And all the art really needs is funding. So if you can actually get a job, get a job. Get a job and do your music still, but get a job, because you will become frustrated when you wake up, go to the studio, borrow money, and go spend that money and spend so much money on it, and you see your music not going anywhere, and you get frustrated and you quit. So I would say, get something that can keep you going while you're working on your music until that time comes where you don't need to keep going to that 9 to 5 or whatever job that you're going to, and you focus solely on your music. Right now, for most Zimbabwean artists or upcoming artists, it's really hard to sustain yourself solely on music or on whatever art you're doing. It's hard. If you don't have any other grind on the side, my brother, you'll be walking home from the studio and back and forth. And yeah, exactly. You end up very very depressed, and you end up just giving up on your talent. But I would say if there's a hustle that you can actually get on to, do that and still keep your music going. You can go to your 9 to 5 during the day, and in the evening you're in the studio, working and perfecting your art, uh, and actually, if you can buy equipment, especially for many artists, you can produce your own work without having to go to a studio. Nowadays, people can actually have, all you need is a computer, download your pirated software, and, you start making beats with your JVC speakers. Just connect your amps, and you have yourself a studio, and you're already recording the music, and you don't have to spend as much money and as people used to back in the days to actually step up into real studios and make music. Many people are making music in their bedrooms and putting it on the internet for people to listen to. So I would say, find a job if you can. So I'm about and do something that can actually sustain you during this period while you're still trying to get out there, trying to develop and get discovered and pop off.
Yeah, man. You heard it from the man himself, the legend, the pioneer, the godfather of Bulawayo hip hop is in the building. Consistency, consistency, consistency,
Yes.
and staying focused, man, and looking for
And
that job, man. Use that certificate you have in your
exactly.
closet to look for a job so that you can sustain your musical career. Otherwise,
Yes.
depression, anxiety, suicide.
Yeah, it's real, and
Yeah,
when you kill yourself and in musically or in the art form, you actually commit suicide via many aspects. You can kill your desire to work, kill your desire to produce, kill your desire to keep going. You don't have to. You are not necessarily physically killing yourself, but all that you can actually kill it. Committing suicide, via those aspects, you can actually kill all those things because of frustration, because you're frustrated that you've worked so hard and for so long and nothing is coming out of it. So for that fatigue to not set in, you need to have some form of income, some form of something that keeps you afloat, keeps you going. When you come back from the studio, your family is still there, hungry AF. Yeah. So kudliwana peka.
I
Yeah. and you know,
So
and the telling me I could what was I download when I download the 300 times maybe the total with $3. Nah, it's not happening.
currently you're based in Australia, and I think people would like to know, like, is King Krud still making beats? Is he still producing? Is he, still doing cinematography, or like you
Yeah,
say, wadinga umsebenzi wathi madoda mina
yeah,
angisengu-King Krud, sengingu-Krud ngapha nje, sengisedinga umsebenzi, sengenza okokusebenza kuphela. So
yeah.
maybe you be on some Majaiva tip, like, hey, if you're talking about music, don't involve me, I'm no longer into music, just leave me alone, I'm now on a different path. So is King Krud still making music? Is King Krud still available to produce for individuals who would like to work with him?
Yes, well, I'm still kicking it. I'm actually still, I always keep my handy dandy equipment close by. Music, I'll never stop making music, man. I'll make music till the day I die. It's me. It's in me, man. It's part of who King Krud is. I've never stopped. I have a day job that I go to. I still work in the media. I do film. The company that I work for also, it's a media production company. So I still do that, and I come home and I can still play on the computers and make beats and do such kind of thing. So if anyone still wants to hit me up for a bit, yeah, I can do that. Of course, I'm working with a bunch of whack artists these days. You know yourselves. Pro to the ZZ, pro to the Zega Zega ZZ, bruh. You beast that up and sending you, homie. Stop sitting on the beats, bro, Zach.
So,
yeah,
I mean,
still making beats.
can you disclose the rates, or they need to, like, hit you up directly, or you've got a specific price?
No, I don't. I actually don't have any pricing on anything. Mostly, if you know me and we've worked together before, you can just hit me up. You can get a free beat. That's how it is, man. I don't give a, because music is not paying me right now. Music is not making money for me, so it is what it is. If so I'm not really charging anything. I just do it as a hobby right now.
He eating them Australian dollars. He eating them Australian dollars.
Yes, man. I'm challenging them kangaroos, man. Them kangaroos. Oof.
Hey, hey. Because I feel like King Krud, you left for Australia. DJ Face left for SA. Itai, last time I heard he was in Ports. So hey, and these are the gurus and the pioneers of producing in Bulawayo. So manje siyenzeni njengoba amaguru selishaya phansi lonke. Kuhamba njani la? Because you're not demotivating the next producer, like, is this really gonna pay off?
I think there's a new crop of producers. There's a new crop of artists that have come up. It's always actually really good for guys who've done it before. Step aside, man. If it's your time to just step aside, you can actually do that and just step aside and let other guys come in and take over. And it's been happening. Guys that came after me are doing amazing work. They're doing great music that I myself wish I would have produced. Music that I can only dream of. Amazing work that's come after the whole crop of older and the old generation. It's always good to see other producers, other crop of artists come up and occupy the space that will. I think music or the music in Bulawayo will never die, even if the many folk leave. There's always talent is there. There's so many people who feel the void. It's unfortunate that some of the skills, some of the know-how would leave with the people who are leaving. Some of, like it just vanishes, and those who are coming up will have to learn all by themselves and try to figure out the industry for themselves. It would have been great to have new crop of producers coming up, and we're there, and most of these guys are still there, guiding and sharing, and just giving them guidance and say, okay, no, don't do it this way, do it that way. I know if we try to do this way, it will fail. That kind of thing. It's unfortunate that it has to happen this way, but the industry in Zimbabwe is really not sustainable for many people, and many people have responsibilities. When you grow older, you realize you really have responsibility that you need to fulfill, and you can't do it solely on music. So you're forced to leave and try to find greener pastures elsewhere. And if you are lucky enough to continue being in the music industry and actually feed your family wherever you are, good for you. It still works. But most of the time, you'll discover that many artists, when they leave, they take on other forms of work and do music as just part-time or wherever they can, that kind of thing. But the truth is, some of us, especially for me, I'm always open. People can just hit me up anytime. I have so many people on my WhatsApp that just hit me up asking for advice. Okay, I'm working on this kind of a beat. What do I need to fix it? What can I do to master this? Or listen to my vocals. Can you add this to it? Can you do that? So yeah, fortunately, the internet has allowed us to keep in touch and share ideas and keep it going.
Yeah, man. So where can they find you on your socials? Maybe if there's someone out there who wants to work with King Krud.
Yeah, social media everywhere, from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram to YouTube. It's King Krud. That's all you have. KINGKRUED. That's King Krud. That's where you find me, and yeah, hit me up, and we'll get in touch, and we'll do what needs to be done.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Thank you and much appreciated for the interview on Kingsville TV, man.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome platform. Please keep working at it. We enjoy watching it.
And are we ever gonna have Hamadred's reunion?
What was that? You're breaking up. What was that? Sorry.